Welcome to Mia's Stories. Make sure to subscribe to never miss an update, and a lucky chance to video chat with me. I never imagined that my first time with a man while cross-dressed would be so exhilarating and intense. It was a night that took me by surprise, a night filled with unexpected desires and forbidden pleasures. My ex-husband was away on a business trip, leaving me with an empty house and a longing for some excitement. I had always enjoyed dressing up in secret, but that night, I decided to take it a step further. I poured myself a glass of wine, feeling the liquid courage coursing through my veins, and logged into a cross-dressing chat room. As I browsed through the different rooms, one in particular caught my eye. It was a T4M room, and although I hesitated at first, I couldn't resist the temptation. Little did I know that this decision would change everything. I engaged in a few conversations, but one man stood out from the rest. He was bold, confident, and his words sent shivers down my spine. He spoke of pleasures I had never experienced before, and despite my initial reservations, I found myself drawn to him. I was conflicted, torn between my past experiences and the overwhelming desire that was building inside me. But as the night progressed, I knew I couldn't resist the pull any longer. With trembling hands and a racing heart, I made a decision that would alter the course of my night. I left the safety of the chat room and ventured out into the unknown, heading to a nearby gay club. As I entered the club, a wave of nervous excitement washed over me. I felt a mix of fear and anticipation, unsure of what the night held in store for me. I was a stranger in a sea of unfamiliar faces, but then he approached me. He was confident, charming, and his gaze lingered on me with a hunger that sent a thrill down my spine. We sat at the bar, exchanging words that spoke volumes without ever being spoken aloud. He knew my secret, and yet he accepted me without judgment. As the night wore on, our conversation deepened, and I found myself opening up in ways I never thought possible. I confessed my desires, my fears, and my hidden yearnings, and he listened with a tenderness that touched my soul. He asked me questions that stirred something primal within me, awakening desires that I had long buried. And as we danced, his touch ignited a fire that blazed out of control, consuming me in a whirlwind of passion. In that moment, as our bodies moved in perfect harmony, I surrendered to the intoxicating pull of desire. His hands roamed my body, igniting a hunger that burned with a fierce intensity. I felt his hardness pressing against me, and I knew that I could no longer resist the inevitable. With a silent understanding, we retreated to a secluded corner where our passion could flourish without restraint. I confessed my innermost desires, my longing to experience a pleasure unlike any other, and he listened with a knowing smile. And then, in a moment of raw vulnerability, I reached out and touched him, feeling the heat of his desire beneath my fingertips. The air crackled with tension, and I knew that there was no turning back. As we moved to a more private setting, the world fell away, leaving only the two of us in a haze of passion and longing. I felt his hands on me, guiding me towards a pleasure I had never known, and I let myself be consumed by the heat of the moment. In the dim light of his living room, our bodies entwined in a dance of desire and desperation. I felt his hands on me, igniting a fire that blazed with a ferocity that left me breathless. I longed for him in a way that defied all logic and reason, and I knew that I had crossed a line from which there was no return. As we kissed, our bodies melded together in a symphony of passion and need. I felt his hardness pressing against me, and I knew that I could no longer deny the hunger that consumed me from within. With trembling hands, I reached out and touched him, feeling the heat of his desire beneath my fingertips. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding in my chest, but then I surrendered to the inevitable. And as he guided me towards a pleasure unlike any other, I felt myself unraveling in a whirlwind of ecstasy and bliss. In that moment, all doubts and fears faded away, leaving only the raw, unbridled passion that surged between us. In the aftermath of our forbidden encounter, I was left reeling from the intensity of the experience. I had delved into a world of pleasure and desire that I never knew existed, and I was forever changed by the ecstasy of discovery. As I grappled with the aftermath of our night together, I knew that I had crossed a threshold from which there was no turning back. I had tasted the forbidden fruit of desire, and I knew that I would forever be haunted by the memory of that night. But despite the turmoil and uncertainty that lay ahead, I knew that I had found a part of myself that had long been buried. I had unearthed a passion and longing that defied all logic and reason, and I was forever changed by the experience. And as I navigated the complexities of my newfound desires, I knew that I had embarked on a journey of self-discovery and liberation. I had embraced the truth of who I was, and I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. In the days that followed our passionate encounter, I found myself consumed by thoughts of him. His touch, his gaze, his words lingered in my mind, igniting a fire that burned with a fierce intensity. I longed to feel his hands on me once more, to lose myself in the depths of desire and surrender to the forbidden pleasures that awaited. As I returned to my daily routine, I couldn't shake the feeling of restlessness that plagued me. The memory of our time together haunted me, taunting me with a promise of ecstasy that I couldn't resist. I knew that I had to see him again, to explore the depths of desire that lay between us. Driven by a hunger that defied reason, I reached out to him, my heart pounding in my chest as I confessed my longing and desire. And to my delight, he responded with a fervor that matched my own, igniting a flame that blazed with a ferocity that left me breathless. As we met once more in a secluded corner of the city, the tension between us crackled in the air, a palpable force that drew us together in a dance of desire and longing. I felt his hands on me, igniting a fire that burned with a fierce intensity, and I knew that I had found my kindred spirit in the depths of his gaze. Our bodies moved in perfect harmony, a symphony of passion and need that transcended all boundaries. I felt his hardness pressing against me, and I knew that I could no longer deny the hunger that consumed me from within. With a silent understanding, we retreated to a private sanctuary where our passion could flourish without restraint. As we embraced, our bodies melded together in a dance of ecstasy and bliss. I felt his hands on me, guiding me towards a pleasure unlike any other, and I surrendered to the inevitable. In that moment, all doubts and fears faded away, leaving only the raw, unbridled passion that surged between us. In the heat of the moment, our bodies entwined in a frenzy of desire and desperation. I felt his hands on me, igniting a fire that blazed with a ferocity that left me breathless. I longed for him in a way that defied all logic and reason, and I knew that I had found my true soulmate in the depths of his embrace. As we kissed, our bodies melded together in a symphony of passion and need. I felt his hardness pressing against me, and I knew that I could no longer deny the hunger that consumed me from within. With trembling hands, I reached out and touched him, feeling the heat of his desire beneath my fingertips. And as he guided me towards a pleasure unlike any other, I felt myself unraveling in a whirlwind of ecstasy and bliss. In that moment, all doubts and fears faded away, leaving only the raw, unbridled passion that surged between us. As our bodies moved together in a dance of desire and longing, I felt myself teetering on the edge of ecstasy. His hands explored every inch of my trembling form, igniting a fire that burned with a fierce intensity. I moaned in pleasure as he devoured me with a hunger that matched my own, each touch sending shockwaves of delight through my core. I arched my back, offering myself to him completely, lost in the throes of passion that threatened to consume us both. His lips found mine in a searing kiss, his tongue delving deep as we tasted the sweet nectar of our forbidden union. I gasped for breath as he whispered words of lust and desire, driving me to the brink of madness with his intoxicating presence. With a primal growl, he took me in his arms and lifted me, positioning me just right for what was to come. Our eyes locked in a heated gaze, filled with a hunger that could not be denied. And then, with a primal thrust, he entered me, sending waves of pleasure crashing over me in a tidal wave of ecstasy. I wrapped my legs around him, pulling him closer, urging him on as we moved as one in a symphony of passion and need. Each thrust brought us closer to the edge, the tension building to an unbearable peak. And as we reached the pinnacle of our desire, we both let go, surrendering to the explosive release that awaited us. Our bodies trembled in unison as we rode the waves of pleasure, our cries of ecstasy mingling in the air as we reached the peak of passion together. In that moment, there was no room for doubt or fear, only the raw, unbridled intensity of our shared desire. As the waves of pleasure subsided, we lay entwined in a tangle of limbs, our bodies slick with sweat and our hearts racing in the aftermath of our intense union. I gazed into his eyes, seeing a reflection of my own desires and fears mirrored back at me. The air was thick with a heady mix of passion and uncertainty, a potent cocktail that left us both reeling in the wake of our shared ecstasy. I felt a surge of emotions coursing through me, a whirlwind of conflicting desires and tangled thoughts that threatened to overwhelm my senses. In that moment, I knew that I had crossed a threshold from which there was no turning back, my fate forever entwined with his in a dance of lust and longing that defied all reason. He brushed a strand of hair from my face, his touch gentle and reassuring, a stark contrast to the raw intensity of our earlier passion. I shivered at his touch, feeling a rush of warmth spreading through me at the simple gesture of intimacy. In his arms, I found a sense of solace and belonging that I had never known before, a connection that transcended the physical and delved into the depths of my soul. We lay together in silence, the air heavy with unspoken words and unfulfilled promises. I knew that our journey was far from over, that the road ahead was fraught with challenges and uncertainties. But in that moment, all that mattered was the bond that we shared, a bond forged in the fires of passion and desire that burned between us. If you enjoyed the story and want to show your support, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Also, for every comment with 69, you could have a chance to video chat with me. Thanks for your time.